Mr. Jake Dement. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm great. Happy to be here.
Yeah, dude, it's been a while. Last time you were on, I think you and Quentin were on. And
Yep.
then before that, it's been a while, dude. So
I met you under the bridge. We did an interview there.
Yeah, that would had to been 2020, I would think. Yeah, 2020. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, I've been watching your show. I tell you, I'm a fan. I see a lot of inspirational people on here, so I was really excited to get to be invited back.
Yeah, dude, I love it, man. And you and I mean, I tell everybody this. I'm like, dude, he wrapped my hands for my very first fight. You know, like MMA fight, was there cornering me, helping me out, helped me out a ton, man, and always been there. You know, that wasn't really a trajectory for me to make a career out of, but it was still something I enjoyed doing, and met a lot of you guys and formed a lot of camaraderie that's never going to go away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
It's a big wild ride. Like the fight game is such a crazy wave, and the wave will take you to different places. Different people get off the wave at different times, and it's cool to be on that journey with people. And I'm continually doing it. And a lot of these guys go on to be successful doctors. And before I was a boxing coach, I coached soccer, and a lot of those guys I used to coach over at Stockwell at the elementary school. When I was going to Bibsy, and a lot of those guys are now like really successful, and they hit me up. They're like, "You're coaching boxing?" Like, yeah, I'm doing that. And they knew I was boxing. I hadn't crossed over yet. And at the time that you were fighting was a time that I kind of came back to it.
Yeah,
I trained a little bit, but I really fell in love with seeing somebody else get better.
Yeah, because you were back fighting a little bit and decided to just go coaching route.
Yeah, I took boxing as an avenue for sobriety. I took boxing to get my mind right and get my spirit right and my body back into shape. I had abused myself for a long time, and I made a decision. I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to the gym. That's where you saw me. But I was a little bit older. I was like, 29, 28. So I worked my way into shape, getting in shape, but I really loved helping guys out like you and everyone else, and seeing them get better. And that's still what I'm on today. I'm still on that wave. I still want to I love taking, potential, finding potential, and then just saying, let's go, get on the wave and go, let's, and seeing what can happen. And I don't know, I feel really fortunate and blessed to be in the position to get to experience that. Yeah,
I mean, you have a very unique coaching style. I always liked it because you handle everything with, man, I don't even know how to put this. It's the biggest compliment I could give you, but it's you handle everything with grace, and that's not a demasculating term by no means. When I say that, I mean, every single person that comes under your wing, everyone's different, right?
Yes.
And you can't handle every person the same way,
right?
Especially in coaching, because I mean, if you want to, especially if it takes a lot of courage to walk into a fight gym. A lot. Boxing gym, MMA gym, wrestling, whatever. It takes a lot of courage. Like, just to open that door, it took me 2 months of driving by there till I got up the courage to do it, because I knew I was walking in somewhere where I was going to get my ass kicked.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But rightfully so, in a good way,
That's a great subject. And a lot of people know what it's like to take that first step into a boxing gym and know that feeling. And a lot of times you feel overwhelmed. You see little guys, that are better than you, that are years ahead of where you're, and it humbles you when you go in there. And I mean, you touched on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
You got my mind stirring. But I'm in a position where I can scout talent, and I can bring in talent, and I have a team behind me that's helping me mold that talent now. Where before it was just me driving around, going to parking lots, holding pads, doing sparring sessions. I mean, like, I was just starting to come inside whenever you were training. I was doing outside before that. Yeah. And, I grew up in a fight family, but I didn't really understand how special that was till I got away from it. And I moved to Dallas, and I lived there for a long time, came back. My family always lived here, but I would always come back, and I started boxing and got into that. And, just personally, I love the challenge, and I love to see that, it's you versus yourself. Yeah. And, when you're coaching someone, that's the first thing you have to explain to them. Like, you think everyone's looking at you when you walked in this gym. Nobody gives a shit about you.
No, they're worried about themselves. They got to get their stuff together.
Everyone's on their own trip. Yeah, exactly. So talking to people different is a good skill that is, I think, a lost art. And I crafted that skill through my upbringing of switching schools a lot. So I changed schools. I bounced around. I went to a lot of schools here, but I went to a lot of schools, Dallas, Baton Rouge, and I bounced around until I graduated. And I learned how to kind of just be around different people, learn who to avoid. You know?
That is very, yeah. You are definitely cultured, and I could tell early on. Yeah, you are. That's important to bring up and to think about, because a lot of people aren't. You know, especially in the fight game. It's just like, they've only been in this one neighborhood, doing it this one way, you know.
Well, boxing catches kids that fall through the cracks of other sports. I mean, we get crossovers from other sports, but there's kids walking around right now frustrated, angry, naturally built up aggression. It's natural. And where's that going to go? What are they going to do? What are we providing for that kid? Because there's nothing wrong with that kid. That's his instincts. That's what his DNA tells him to do. And when I saw I could give that lane, open that lane up a little more, and like, people love boxing in Shreveport. They love fighting.
Yeah.
We go to Mudbugs games. We want to see a fight.
Yeah.
We love fighting.
Yeah.
You go to Waffle House.
Yeah, you're going to see a fight. Especially here lately. It's like one every week, man, everywhere.
But I was really touched by the interview that Grandmaster did, where he talked about the most significant time in his life was when someone told him he had the utmost potential. You know, he said that somebody, you know, knelt down to him and told him, hey, man, you can do this. You can be a martial artist. And right then he saw the vision. And I think it's really cool to be in that position to work with younger people that maybe are struggling. I'm like, bring me a kid that's having a hard time. Bring me a kid that's frustrated. And I'll teach him how to throw a jab and redirect that energy. Teach him how to, you know, and if he thinks he's tough, he can get in there with other kids that actually train.
Yeah.
And get to feel what that's like. You know, that's humbling. And if I don't have someone, I can go get someone that will humble them. And the landscape for boxing in this town has always been really good. It's always been, I've known Coach Ray, Coach Donnie, Coach Joe for a long time, Coach Jerry Stevens, and they have been encouraging. And like, I have to say that Coach Donnie Jackson from Shreveport Boxing Club, he's told me a long time ago when I was going to do a show that I should do one. He encouraged me to do one. He said, hey, you'd be good at this. He cornered me for some fights, and I felt like he was kind of a coach in my life.
Yeah.
And he was doing really good shows down at the fairgrounds, and nobody was going to him. But there were some really great fights right here in Shreveport, and I was there. We were fighting, and nobody in the crowd. And I was just like, when I get my team right, I'm gonna put them on blast. I want people to know about it. I want to. You know, so if you're boxing with us, I wanna put the spotlight on you and say, look at what this kid's doing. And I mean, I get excited talking about it. You can see.
No, dude, it's awesome. I like that, because I think that, look, man, a lot of people, they say those who don't, what is it? If you can't play, you teach, or whatever it is. Like, you're not that type of person. Like, you're genuinely, I feel like you were born to do this. Like, yeah, you fought, and yes, your family's, but you were born to coach. Like, I just feel that way about you, because, and it's one of the highest compliments that anyone, like, and I'm just saying, like, I don't want you to take that the wrong way. I just think that there's a reason why you do it, and you're doing it because you're passionate. You're passionate about getting these kids out of unique scenarios, bringing them up. You know, maybe it's a bad home life, maybe it's a bad neighborhood, maybe it's they feeling less than because they're bullied, maybe these sports that they thought that they should play because their dad made them play didn't work out. You know, just all these elements. Like, people don't think about that. What it does, like, they say these children are molded like from the ages of 4 to 8. Like, they get most of their personality and their character traits. And if you can catch them that young and get them into something that they're inspired by, I mean, that's what you're doing. You know what I mean? And later ages too, of course. Like, but like at some point, a lot of that gets lost, you know. And like, how many kids are doing a sport every day they hate, but they're doing it at the sake of their parents?
Yeah. And
I mean, I see it. I saw it growing up, like, because I did it because I thought, I played baseball. I fucking hated baseball, but I played baseball because my friends played it, and I felt like I needed to play it to be cool. And I sucked at it. I sucked at it because I didn't like it. I didn't want to try to I didn't want to go practice.
And you brought up a great point. You sucked at it because you didn't like it. And I tell parents this all the time. A kid that likes to box, that likes to train, will always elevate. If it's driven within that child, the child has a desire. That's the final D that the coach looks for with the discipline and dedication, desire. Like that is the main thing, because a lot of times I'll get a kid to come and look after practice and be like, hey man, what happens if I do this? Or what if this happens? You know, what if he steps this way and hits me with this? I'm like,
you get excited.
I'm like, this little dude is, he's thinking. One of the things coaches run up against now is all the flood of everyone's a YouTube expert. Everyone's trying to teach reverse
the breakdowns of the breakdowns of the positions and stuff.
Like there's really slick stuff like reverse pivots and stuff that look really cool when they happen. But it's like doing a donut in a car. Like, okay, yeah, maybe you can do that, but it's not going to help you win a race. Like, you need to get out there and win a race.
You can do that if the scenario's right.
Right.
If the exact second, the exact moment that competitor across the ring is positioned perfectly.
It's like, I can dunk. Okay, can you dribble? No, I can dunk. I don't need to dribble. I just dunk.
Can you get to the goal to dunk?
Right.
You know what I mean?
But man, I've gotten to see, you know, the light come on in kids' eyes and see people get excited about something and say like, this is Bossier City, this is what we are, this is our history. And like I'm told you before, I'm a history nerd. Like I get into it, learning about what transpired here in the early 1900s up till now.
Yeah. And
that the story's still being written. That's so exciting to me, because man, I think this is a perfect place for boxing, right here, right where we are.
Okay.
I think that the audience is here. I think that the kids are here. I think it's a bullseye center for more in the future.
Yeah.
So my job now is to really, instead of training, you know, one person, one fighter, I'm trying to train, like for instance, Coach Alex, he trains in my gym. Coach Alex is a leader. He can train 10 people at once. So now my interest goes from training, you know, one person to training one leader.
Right.
And now I've got a lot of kids in our program now, and I'm looking for the leader. I'm looking to pull you out and give you extra jobs, extra work. And this is a whole different mentality of other sports. It doesn't happen like that, especially when we're fighting each other. So, you know, anyways, I got off on a tangent.
Well, no, I mean, you're in the business of fighting now, but you're like, you've always been in the business of fighting, but now you're actually in the business of growing significant like school and structure that's doing more than just trying to fight one city in another city. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Like, cause I know what you're saying, because I was there whenever you were just like, okay, I'm working with this guy running through this camp and getting ready for this other one person. And then when that happens, what if you don't have any help and you have 10 other kids show up? You can't give them all the attention. So, I mean, I think it's important now, and that you have the metrics of everything, and it's pretty cool.
I'm trying to get a scale of it. And you brought up like, for instance, when we were over there by Parkway, you know, they were starting to bus their kids in. We were starting to get school bus loads of guys coming in and doing their workout. Kids at PE could sign up to go to boxing. We'd teach them jump rope, hit the bag, hold pads, expose them to it, and then we'd have some kids come back over for actual training. We actually had a few, but it's crazy how each school in the 318 area, I've had a kid walk out of each school and show up and be able to fight. You know, it doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter what I have found. What I'm trying to understand is like, what's a champion's common thread?
Dude, I love that you bring this up, because you know, when you're young and especially like when we were in our, like, I say prime because I guess I'm getting old now. It was like you're in your prime, like, oh man, that dude's from so and so, don't fuck with him. You know, dude, it don't make a shit where you're from. I know some killers from the suburbs, but isn't that funny how that's always a thing? Yeah. Like your toughness is, you know, predicated upon the geographical area, which makes absolutely no sense. If you grew up in a tough neighborhood, that would bring on some on-site for struggle and to fight back, but it still doesn't give you any technicality or any, you know what I mean, natural ability just to be a better fighter. That's, you know, it just makes you tougher, but it doesn't make you a champion. But you're like that. That question always stirs in my brain though.
I think I know at least one of the attributes that I've seen with people that go really far in boxing. The common thread is pain. It's some type of deep-rooted hurt. They've been done wrong by either their parents, by someone has done them wrong, and that is the extra fuel that pushes them past, and where they work out when everyone leaves, and they run extra miles and they run up the mountain. You know, like a friend of mine was talking about. it was I can't drop his name at the moment, but was talking about Devin Haney when he was training and how he outworked everybody. You know, like he ran faster. They were out there running up the mountain. He was running up the mountain faster than everybody. There's something in people, and I think, especially by seeing kids in the fight game, that it's some type of misunderstanding. You know, my Uncle Steve got into fighting because he was dyslexic, and people told him it was stupid. And it turned into rage. And then they took him to the boxing gym, and then he took his brothers to the boxing gym. That's how my family really bled. My grandmother actually taught boxing at Green Acres Middle School.
That's awesome.
While I'm dropping a shout out to my grandparents, they actually met in Bojack's next door when that was a drugstore.
Really?
So my grandfather was a soda jerk there, and she came in as a young lady, and they met there.
So you wouldn't be here
if not for that little spot.
If not for right here.
Right here, yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
It goes back further and further. Like, I love the history, but going back to boxing, I'm sorry.
No, you're good, dude. I love that.
Yeah, it all ties together. I just feel like I'm in a privileged place and I've had a lot of really good mentors. I have a lot of people that have made a point to make sure that I could be the leader that I'm going to be, or that I am. You know, that they went the extra mile. Grandmaster, my dad, Bill Smith, a lot of people, Ray Paxton, Donnie Jackson, people that took the time. Jerry Stevens, he runs Stevens Youth Activity Zone. He took the time when I was younger to say, hey man, keep doing it. You're doing good. And encouraging, like, I think about the way that I coach. I choose to encourage someone instead of really beat them down. Like, we know you're dropping your hands. You're dropping your hands. But can you imagine how good you... I'll be like this. Can you imagine how good you would do if you didn't get hit?
Well, no, I love that you bring that up because I've been on the other side of it. I've been listening to you, and that you're never... that's what I said. You do it with grace, and I think when that's the best word I can describe, because you never made me feel like shit, even though I knew I was messing up. Like, but you focus on someone's strengths, and it's very similar to like Grandmaster, same thing. After you hear him talk, so you think you could beat anyone in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he was one of those people fanning my flame when I got started, and I had a lot of other ones too, and I still have a lot of people that are in my corner. And man, I feel lifted up. I feel like I have a purpose, and I'm excited about the future. I know it's going to involve struggle. I know it's going to involve bad weather at times, but man, I'm ready. Like,
well, let's talk about that, because you went through a struggle this past year. And we're in North Louisiana, so we had this huge string of storms that just kept hitting every other week throughout the entire spring. Yeah, that's when it happened, right?
And then June 15th, the big storm hit, and we all lost power here in town. Remember, South Bossier was out, but Our last boxing club was in a pecan orchard in South Bossier, and one of the big limbs went right through the gym. So it was open to the elements, and it was a hazard zone where you couldn't go in there and do anything. And I was like, well, we had a really cool spot there, and I had to leave, and I put everything in storage, and we started training out here in the East Bank. Like the next day, we were out here. I put the small ring up, and we just started doing it out there. And just meeting, talking with the public, people walking by, people from out of town. We even got invited to Flying Heart to do a little demo over there where we sparred out there. People and they raised some money for our club. It was just a way to step into the community. Right. Since I didn't have the gym, I'm like, well, since I'm not taking care of the gym, I'm gonna actually make a contact here in the East Bank, because that's where I want to be. And I met with some few people down here. We teamed up with SBC Bail Bonds and a few of our other sponsors, and we actually opened up a new spot on East Texas Street. It's kind of hard to find, but we're over there now. So,
but how long so y'all were out for a while? And that's what I was like.
Yeah.
I remember driving through, and I was like, I always wanted to stop, but I was always trying to hurry up and get to book a show here, and we'd drive through, and it'd be 100 degrees, and y'all out there getting it, bro. I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah, and then Sports Spectrum invited us in because it was so hot. We trained over there for a while, and those guys are really great, Chris and all them, and eventually we had to get our own spot. Right. So we put that place together, and it's close by, and I'm interested in doing things right here in the East Bank if I can. Like, I'm looking for, the right setting, the right weather, you know, it sucks about what happened to the Red River Brew Pub, because that was a good spot.
That'd be a good spot for a show.
Definitely.
But man, we'll make it happen, bro. We'll make it happen, dude. You're doing the right things and you're in the right place. I think we'll make it happen for sure.
I know we are, and I like to just, you know, keep the door open for any kids that want to come to our program, try it out. Any kid that ever thought they might want to try boxing. You know, we localize with Bossier City, but we train kids from everywhere. We have kids from Texas come through, but I'm proud to be from this town, like from Bossier City. I like to say it with pride that, you know, our boxing team is a Bossier City-based boxing team, and that's my angle with business. You know, that's the way that I go at it. That's who I'm representing. I mean, it's on our banner, Bossier City. So, you know, I'm really excited for what you guys are doing down here too.
Yeah, man. Thanks. So you're doing, how many students do you have right now?
Man, I really don't know. I mean, it varies month to month. They come and go. We have some that come back, and a lot of kids are in college, and then they come back, and then I'll get a flood of my college kids. And, you know,
I just remember when you were starting out and just having a handful. Yeah. That's how I talked to Marshall Fulgham about this same thing. Like, I remember y'all having like a handful of people, and then randomly on a whim, I'll be like, hey, I want to go, you know, I want to go to Jake's gym. And I walk in, and dude, it's like, 50 people. I'm like, hell yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah. So on any given day, so we have about 15 registered competitive fighters.
Right.
From ages, I think our youngest one is 9, all the way up to like 35. We have about 15 of them. And then there's about 20 of them that are there training, working out, doing stuff, helping out. There's a lot of them there on scholarship that, you know, they help us clean up and do stuff like that and pay their gym dues that way. So when you come to me and you're like, hey man, I can't afford to pay. I'm like, hey man, can you use them off?
Yeah.
Can you clean? You know, like, wait a minute, what? I'm like, that's old Karate Kid style, you know.
That is, man. But that's a lot of champions have been built on that.
And really, it's a win-win because it keeps these kids off the street. It keeps the talent in the gym. It keeps me able to go out and ask for more sponsors and tell people, hey, look, this program is changing your community. We have free training for firemen and police. So we're blending, you know, potential criminals with current, you know, first responders, where they can have a conversation on a platform they never get to have a conversation on, and talk to each other like, hey man, you know, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you selling drugs? Do you realize this is what's going to happen? You know, and I seen how that works, especially with all the cool Battle of the Badge stuff that's going on in Shreveport. I got to give a shout out to all those guys that participate in it, top to bottom. We do it. I mean, Monroe does it really good, but we've been kicking butt here for, I don't know, like,
it's been a while, dude.
Like 10 years.
Yeah.
And if anyone doesn't know what Battle of the Badge is, it's a fundraiser for firemen and police where they get together and they do a little throwdown. And it's probably the coolest party.
Dude, it's the funnest shit ever. Do you know that the first time I ever saw my wife was right before she fought the girl that had a corner for you?
Yeah, that's right.
I told her that. I was like, I was cornering that girl, and I walked out. Emory, right?
Yeah,
Emory's amazing. It just was a bad match, right? It just is what it is. It's a bad matchup. That happens with Battle of the Badges, though.
But Emory got hers later, just
dude,
so you know.
Yeah. That's all good, bro. But like, I walked outside, and I was gonna hold pads for Emory.
Yeah.
And then my now wife is sitting out there smoking a cigarette with her hands wrapped, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, she was on another level.
Yeah, and like, but I love that. I love that show, man. I loved it. Anytime I get to go corner those guys, dude, it's so fun, dude. It's a way to bring the community together too.
That was the first Battle of the Badges, the first chance I really got to start working with my dad and like Sparky, like hands on, where we were helping with the matches and doing all kinds of stuff, and we were reffing, and you know, just it's just a good time. Like, I laugh so hard. I'm just laughing the whole time. Like, I'm there for the fights, and,
dude,
and
so fun,
I felt dumb because one of the interviews, they're like, "What do you think about Battle of the Badge?" I was on the news. I said, "It's going to be hilarious," and then I realized that's not a good way. It's not a good marketing. Yeah, like, you're going to be laughing for sure.
No, dude, it really is, because these guys, if they come in and train, you know, they say they want to fight, but then a lot of them don't really train, and so they just gas quick, and you know, there's not a lot of technique. But it's a great organization that raise money. I always like helping with it, and dude, it is really entertaining, and it's like there's not really ever any ill will. It's just those two organizations talking mess to each other, getting together, throwing some dukes, and then walking,
fun.
going about their way, you know.
Well, they get a lot of sub fighters too, and that's really fun. Guys that jump in and fight and represent.
Yeah,
and it's a blast. So, but I think that embodies what this town has, you know, and the success with Bishop Promotions, all their success. It shows what this town is about. Like they want to get together, they want to see some fights, they want to have a good time, they want to dance, and they need a place to do it.
Yeah, shout out to John and Amber too, man. I'm glad they're back here like full time. That's awesome too.
They need to be, because this is the fight town. This is a real. I mean, like the talent, DJ, is crazy. The talent is so. Just going back to what we were talking about. We moved around a little bit. We finally found a place. We're not far away, and we're just kind of just locked in for this year. We've got. In June 8th, we have the George Dement Classic at the Shreveport Convention Center.
Okay.
So that's a little ways away, but we're going to join in with that Superman Blunt Fight for Life again.
Oh, for the Optimum Classic. So it's okay. So you're rolling in there. Oh,
I'm gonna piggyback with them.
Dude, no, great. Why not? Like when that's a huge. That whole event's that's a huge thing. It's always great for the city. People from all over the United States and the world come to compete in that. As far as like bodybuilding and stuff, and I think that's awesome, man. I'm definitely coming. I didn't know y'all were going to be at that.
Yeah, they invited us. We've done it a couple of times as a sparring deal.
Right, but you didn't have a full on
show.
So how many fights you thinking?
Usually 20,
okay.
Around 20, and we'll get belt sponsors and we'll pre-match it, make it a big thing. It'll be a lot of fun, and it'll be a daytime thing on a hot June day. We'll be inside. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
We battled some different weather, different elements. Some shows I've had where it was too cold, some shows it was too hot, and that's the risky run of doing an outdoor event.
Yeah, outdoor venues make it's scary, man. As a promoter, it's scary. As a competitor, it's scary. Dude, that first fight I fought where you were there, it was 100 degrees in August at a fucking mud ride.
That cold factor?
Yeah, dude, it was so bad.
Bro, that was the most redneck thing I've ever seen. It was
as a fighter, you take what you can get, right? If you're wanting to want to take these fights, and I get it,
Yeah, I remember that. That was a trip. It's crazy when you think about the evolution or the landscape of the fight game here in this town, just in the time that I've been involved in it, and kind of makes you wonder how it's going to continue.
Mm-hmm.
And you see these new prospects, and you see the old ones, they get hurt, or they move away, or whatever happens, and from a coach's chair, I'm just staying in the chair, just kind of like, hey, let's keep going. Let's get what's coming down the chute here. And
I never thought about that, but yeah, man, it happens a lot. You have a lot of guys that they just up and roll out, and you're like, whoa, that was a whole base of how we're getting fights promoted here, and this and that. But then right behind it, you have someone else.
Yeah.
I never thought about it like that, but yeah, that's true.
I mean, there was a little while where we kept taking. It seemed like Jeremy Moore and Hutch, and just recently we had another one. And
yeah, man.
It's crazy. The game just keeps on going, and I think that boxing is one of the toughest sports, especially for kids. I mean, it really weeds itself out. Shout out to the kids that have stayed in it for years, because it's rough, it's tough, and you have to be mentally strong, and you have to have a good defense. You can't be getting hit a lot. That's what
I've talked about this recently. I was talking to Nate about it with wrestling. I think boxing and wrestling are one and the same, as far as like they don't get enough clout, like, from the community. They don't get enough attention from some of the schools. Are starting to promote wrestling a little more, but I think there's so great individualized sports to do everything that you're promoting to do with these children, and there just needs to be more money and emphasis, in programs like what you're doing for these individualized sports for these kids, man. Besides just spending thousands and thousands and thousands on traveling baseball, where they're just going to tear an ACL or mess, whatever, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me how people don't want to go out and let their children find their lane,
Yeah, that boxing, you got to be willing. I tell people when they start, you got to be willing to suck at this for a while.
Oh yeah.
I don't know when
I still suck at it.
I don't know when you're gonna pop.
Yeah.
But you're in the cooker now.
Yeah.
I don't know when you're gonna pop. And some kids, they pop quick. And really, for me, I'm not interested in a Floyd Mayweather. I don't care about a world champion. I don't give a shit about any of that. I want to see people get better. I want to see people do better. I want a kid that is up in front of a board for a job one day remember that, man, I got in front of a whole crowd in front of in a high school gym and fought in front of 300 people. I can go in here and talk to these people.
That's a very good point, man.
The confidence that the sport gives you is different. You walk different, you act different, and that's why when you took that first fight in the boxing match in Lafayette, whether you won, lose, or draw, once you fought, you're a part of a fraternity.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah,
you know?
that it is. Yeah, it is. You have your team gives a newfound respect for you. Your coach has a newfound respect for you. You have a newfound respect for yourself. That's the first thing, right? So you just create this new level of confidence, but it's not a bad confidence. It's like it's a humbled confidence, right?
Yeah, because you really do understand that there's so many layers to it and levels. Like, as soon as you get to that next plateau, you're like, okay, I'm here, and then you realize, you look up, oh my gosh, it's so much higher now. The next one is it's twice as high. And then once you get up there, and martial arts as a whole, it's infinite. You can grow infinite, and art as a whole, like I'm big into art because it's infinite. It's never ending. I draw from this place of infinity, you know, and boxing's the same way. So exposing the kids to that, showing them what it is, the structure that it brings, the discipline, the self-respect that comes along with it. You start to see that, and somebody that starts to carry themselves different. I can do this, and you know, they get to school and people are like, you're a boxer? You know, there's not a program in school yet for boxing.
There's no identity,
right?
Like for you there. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just not. It's not there, and I feel like it needs to be, because I mean, there's programs for all these other things. You know,
there is, and semantically, you can say this: I'm teaching two kids to fight each other. You know, but you could also say I'm teaching one kid to face his fears. If you can step in there in front of another kid that's trained, and go for it, you know, you're facing your fears.
I would much rather hang out and babysit or just be around and hang out around two individuals that have been in a boxing gym for 6 months versus two individuals that have absolutely no discipline.
Right.
They're going to be better children. Right. They're going to be better human beings. They're going to be better adults. Yeah. It just is what it is. I mean, we know that. Like, instinctively, everyone knows that, right?
Right.
Or maybe they don't, but they need to, right?
So there's this internal chaos and pain, and I think that boxing gives you a chance to kind of file and structure that. And if you go to it, draw from it, use it to train, use it to get up, use it to diet, use that. And you know, like, that's an emotion, but when you actually fight, you have to become emotionless. You have to check out. You have to detach. But all the training leading up to there is fueled by, you know, anger, rage, you know, imagination, everything that you're using. You know, that's like the water boy said, tackling fuel. You know?
Yeah, tackling fuel.
You're stacking that stuff up. That's the analogy I think of. Yeah. But you actually use that to train yourself, and I've seen it. I've seen people turn their life around with drugs and alcohol. I've seen using boxing and jiu-jitsu and things. Just seeing it, I'm like, man, it's encouraging, man. When someone's making the steps to do better, I gotta reach out to them and say, keep going.
Yeah. I'm extremely particular when it comes to my vehicles, and I only recommend those who are the same way. That's why I always recommend SBC Autos. They take pride in their inventory, from badass four-wheel drives, clean classic cars, and even your everyday grocery getters. They have it all. No hassle, no BS. SBCautos.com. Yeah, that's something I'm so inspired by lately, and I've been looking at, like, me and the wife now. It's like, dude, I'm not going to fight anymore. And maybe if there was a charity match and I was raising some money, I'd come do a boxing match or something. But like, I know that's a closed door for me, just because I'm not willing to give up 2 hours every day of my life right now. I have other things I want to do, right? But I still like to do CrossFit, so we're doing that now. Yeah. But I'm noticing people come in these fitness journeys, whether it be wrestling, boxing, jiu-jitsu, CrossFit, and these people that have been addicts and alcoholics, and, you know, and I don't know what it is about that here lately, but I'm noticing it more and more, and it excites me. It really does, because it's like they're giving up one addiction for a healthier addiction. You know what I mean? And there's something about that people need to, like, if they could tune into that and realize, like, how groundbreaking that is for not only that person individually, but also everyone around that person, you know, that's affected by those shortcomings.
I noticed that the more like being positive breeds more positive. And when you go out there in the world and you tell someone, hey man, you're doing good, you're trying, I see you trying, and your goal is really to find the positive in a lot of these different not so great situations, that stuff just keeps coming back to you. You know what I mean? And if you do the latter and you're bitching and crying about how shit works against you and everything's against you, well, don't be surprised.
How long does it take? That's a good point. How long does it take for you to break that mentality for someone coming in? Because I know you see that a lot, because I've seen it in the gym myself. Like, man, how long does it take?
Everyone, like I said, everyone's different. Everybody pops at different times, and some people come in with a good understanding. I've noticed wrestlers, when they cross over, they're different. Like when a wrestler comes to me and he's like, I want to box, I'm like, this is going to be really easy. Okay. Because they have a ground.
They have discipline.
They have the discipline. They know the shame. They know the cuts. They know they know the getting dogged out. I mean, like really, like getting dogged out or getting your ass kicked. That's a part of the game. And if you can't imagine yourself getting dogged out, you're not going to be. You don't deserve to win. Yeah. If you can't go through that, you don't deserve to get the win. You get your hand raised. If you're not going to get out there, because everybody along the way taking their lumps.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Like nobody's getting by without taking lumps, and everyone's paying a toll one way or another. So, I mean, I don't know, it's a different mentality now. I think when we were coming up, they were just people really trying to hurt each other. Really nowadays we're a little more safety concerned. We put on.
It's pretty rough.
we put on spar gloves and headgear and wear mouthpieces. But back in the day,
what was the ego thing, man? The biggest thing, our biggest fault was ego, bro. But that isn't that man's biggest fault, anyways, right? It's what builds and breaks us.
So challenging yourself is a good thing, and anyone that's out there that's facing something can look at it like a fight. It's such a metaphor, and I go total Mr. Miyagi on it. Like it lines up with everything in life, and it's a complete mirror image of your life if you look at it from that perspective. And anyone that makes the decision to go to the gym has won that first battle where they were like, what am I going to do today? Yeah. You woke up, you put your clothes on, you decided to go to the gym, or you decided to go run. You won that battle. That's a win. Yeah. So let's keep winning. Keep winning.
I think someone said this not too long ago. Was talking about it, and people say it to me all the time too. They're like, "Man, I don't know where you find the motivation." I was like, "Dude, it's not motivation. It's discipline. It's not motivation." Like I'm never like waking up and be like, "Man, I'm just so pumped today to do things that suck." It don't fucking work that way, man. It's not motivation. Is the wrong word. It's discipline. Right. Like you're motivated once you see results. Yeah. Right. But it takes discipline to get those results. Right.
And like I've seen where guys are training and they have good days, bad days, good days, bad. It just goes like this. They come in the gym and they can't land a punch. They come in the gym, they can't miss. It's like they're not consistent. But over time, that middle line is where they fall, and that's the happy medium that you gotta bring that up. And showing up, man, that's half the battle. Just getting there and.
That was always my biggest battle. Is like, especially after like full time working in the oil field, and then there was a lot of days, dude. I had to make myself go. I made myself go though. I mean, there's some days I didn't. There's some days I went on home and should have went and made up bullshit excuses and told myself something. But like, that was my biggest problem. Was like, if I walked in the door, that was it. That's all I needed to do. I was fine. But like, getting myself to walk in that door, knowing that it was going to be horrible. You know what I mean? And that's the battle I fight every day now. It's like I just shifted it from individualized sports, like from fighting to now just doing the CrossFit stuff. Like it's the same thing. It's like I don't want to go because I know it's going to suck, but damn, I'm going to feel amazing afterwards. And it was the exact same. Everything that happens to me mentally with what I'm doing now is the exact same process that whenever I was doing the training and fighting
without the head trauma.
Right. But I mean, I still love the sport, dude. I like I said, it's just not in my schedule right now, and it's not something I'm passionate about now. As far as competing more, I want to be just aligned with it. Whether it's talking to fighters or whether it's doing a commentary here and there or whatever. Like I still love everything about it. And it is funny that you brought that up, because I think, like you said, your fighting's the reason why you're here, and it's part of your identity, and part of, like you said, part of your brother's identity. Those people, like or your uncle, excuse me. Yeah. But like I think about this all the time. I never really started trying to get healthy until I got picked on and got in a fight when I was a fat middle school kid in band. Now I say that because I'm talking about myself, so I can say that. I'm not picking on anyone else, but like I got picked on, and I got hit. I didn't get a fight. I got hit. Well, I didn't know how to react, and I had to bottle that up for a couple of days, and then I went and approached that child and the other kid in the locker room. We got into it, and then we both got in trouble. I ended up hitting him. I don't remember the specifics of it. It wasn't like a knockdown, drag out.
But you faced it.
But I faced it, and then after that, I was like, well, he's picking on me because I'm fat, but it's also because he has issues too. Like, it's okay to be overweight, whatever, But for me, it was like, that's one reason that brought that to me, that unwanted attention that I didn't want. It came to me because of whatever my shortcoming may be. And for me, it was like I was insecure about that anyways. So I started a journey to get myself healthier. Like 14 years old, I've made a drastic change in my entire diet and being and working out, like at 14. And what's funny is what happened to start that entire journey to where I'm right now was a fight.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't think about it till just when you brought it up a minute ago.
No, you made me think of a fight that inspired me that I just came to remember. I hadn't trained in a long time, and I was very out of shape. I showed up at my family's farm one Thanksgiving, and my cousin Shane brought the gloves with me. Shane's a Georgia Golden Gloves champion. He's like, Jake, move around with me out in the front yard in front of everyone. My whole family, my grandparents. He battered me. I mean, put my teeth through my lip. I mean, just beat the brakes off me. And I was like, I went home. They picked myself up. I took my lumps right out there in the grass, right out in the yard like we did when we were kids. He beat the brakes off me. And I was like, when he comes back next year, I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be ready. So I went and started running. I started training. And anyways, it was that ass whooping that I took. I remember it. And I mean,
it was in front of
that feeling of
it's in front of everybody too.
Yeah, in front of my whole family.
That was in front of the entire school on the little middle school sixth grade side of recess. Like everybody saw it, and I was just like, "Fuck this."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
what sucked the worst is that Shane pulled back. He went, he took me there and he beat me up a little bit, but then he pulled back.
That makes you feel even worse.
Yeah, and I'm like, he didn't pull the trigger completely. I had to like kind of just like, oh hey, I'm gonna go inside. I'm like bleeding and anyways, that was something that helped me get into shape and get focused too. So it's kind of a rock bottom moment.
Yeah, it is interesting that how things happen, man, and the origin. Like, people don't, a lot of times they don't think about the origin and get so caught up in the next thing that they don't really go back and focus on the origin of this, how this came to be.
Well, how do we get more people locally interested in the sport, more kids involved? How do we get more kids to the boxing gym? How do we make it? I mean, these are the things I'm asking myself. How do I we want to continually have shows, events, do what we can, camps, everything we can do for these guys.
I think the stigmatism has to be broken that it's a violent sport. I think people need to see to make a real significant like change. People need to see that these kids can do something besides baseball or football, be successful, be confident, and move on and do better things. And I just think they have to see it at scale, which the only way they're going to do it is people like you bringing them in and continuing to roll them over, roll through them. I mean, I think that's the groundwork that has to be done, and then at scale you just have to continue. I mean, do what we're doing right now, man. Talk about it.
Build pride in it. Build. Get a following. Get a group of people that are supportive. And
what's the oldest sport in history? But everyone seems to be afraid of it, and every single sport was built upon it. If you think about it, it's competition. There's
injuries and deaths in all sports. Boxing has a stigma because some people see it as the goal is to head trauma is the goal, and there's a lot more to it from my point of view than that, but it is a factor.
Yeah, but look how much CT is directly related to football now that we've seen. I mean, it's going to be in every sport,
Yeah, it can happen. Skateboarding, anything you're doing, it's a factor.
It's an outlaw sport too, though.
Yeah.
Let's be real, and that's what people are afraid of. It's like, well, I don't want my child attached to that because that may be seen as a hoodlum or something. But that's not the case, man.
Well, the thing is that no matter what your financial background, it's a level playing field.
You are most definitely right.
You can come in. You can come in there with all the good gear, everything, every dollar. You can have all the trainers. You can have Money Mayweather in your corner, all that. But some kid from Cedar Grove is going to smash you. Like just go in there and smash you.
Yep.
it can happen. So
it is the best. That is probably the most important thing you could say. Is it levels all playing fields.
It does.
I mean, it's you and them, and
but I love the common thread that I seen. Like I have a group of Mexican kids, and then I have a group of Puerto Rican kids, and they kind of hang together with their families, but when they come to the gym, they're together and they speak different types of Spanish. They have different experiences, and man, they hit it off. Like I mean, it's just a different environment where you would get to see them have that conversation and get to meet each other. And so in the meantime, the white kids and the black kids that live here are getting to talk to them and meet
that's
them.
Important. That's important too, because like it is a binary connection between multiple cultures, and it always has been, right? Because it's like you take your champion from this area, you take your champion from this area, and then they fight each other. But along the way, all these gyms, all these neighborhoods, all these areas, camaraderie's built there. There's no segregation. Like I'm willing to get in there and punch you if you're Mexican, if you're white, if you're black, and I know you're willing to do the same too. But at the same time, we're all training together, and it's so funny, right? It's an individualized sport, but you have a team.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing ever, like to think about, like, right? Because like team sports are team sports, and everyone has to operate. But you can have a team of boxers, and one may be really horrible, but that person is just as significant to the team as the best boxer.
Well, the other night we went to D-Rock's gym. Shout out to Doug Krantz. We went over there, and the guys were fighting, and I was out of town. Coach Bill told me that the guys were just, one guy would be fighting and the rest of the team was around the ring just screaming their heads off. And a lot of these guys were getting their first sparring. So it was like, we go over there to do our first sparring. We take new guys, we spar them in front of a not friendly crowd to get that experience on a fight that means nothing.
Right.
It's just Friday night fights.
Right.
It's just the funnest thing ever.
But it's a good experience for them too.
Yeah. It's kind of like Battle of the Badge, but a lot more casual and fun. Anyhow, my whole point was that when Coach Bill told me that when one of our guys was fighting, everyone was up at the ring. Everyone was in there with them. So even though it was just him in that ring, he had support behind him, and that you feel that when you're in there.
Oh yeah, dude.
You feel
if I'm showing up a fight out of town at some knockoff promoter and my whole team's not there, I don't feel as confident as just going, with the whole crew in the home state. Look at how they promote fights. Conor McGregor has a fight, and they're in, they're in Dublin, right? Versus he's going to feel more confident there than he's going to feel in, Vegas.
And like as a coach, you're kind of walking a thin line where you're trying to make the fighter comfortable, especially when it comes to like pro stuff and like the bare knuckle stuff. You want your fighter to be comfortable. You're looking out for him at the same time. You're trying to get him ready to go in there and perform. And I've had some experience now with bare knuckle over the last few years. I just had heard about it from Johnny Bedford like 5-6 years ago. Like for the first time, they told me at a fight. He was telling me about it. I was like, "You're involved in what?" Yeah. So I started following him, and I was like, I became a fan of Johnny. I was like, this guy's amazing. Then I saw him fight in Biloxi, and I'm like,
dude, I love it. I love it.
He was fun to watch. You like the bare knuckle?
Dude, I love it. I went after we had last time you were on. Quentin fought Lorenzo, and dude, my anxiety was through the roof, and I don't know why. It's never that way. But I was with my buddy. I was like, dude,
you're shaking.
I'm never like this at any fights. Well, because we had Lauren was fighting that night too. Lauren fought Bosnick, which every time those dudes fight, it's amazing. God, they're one of those like, them old UFC fights. You're like, God, I like, do they? Yeah, well, they got to fight again. We got to see. You know what I mean?
Like was that Rory Henderson and who was had that real bloody fight? It was like that too, where they just beat.
Oh, Stephen Bonner and
not that one, but there was a different one that was more recent. I can't remember offhand.
But yeah, those guys, that show was insane, man. But I love it. I do.
You like the bare knuckle?
Yeah, dude,
I just heard about it, and it's more like a street fight. I'm not too big on like it's pretty brutal. Like I'm not good on seeing people get filleted up. Like I'm not. That doesn't do anything for me. Seeing someone get knocked out, like. To me, the beauty of boxing lies in combinations and making people miss and footwork steps, and like that to me is what I'm looking for. So this is like 2-minute street fight go, and with Quentin, the idea is just let's just jab. With Andy, let's just jab. With Matt, let's just jab. So it's like go out there and use the jab.
Keep distance, man, because when you close in, that's where it gets crazy.
Yeah,
those uppercuts and those inside shots, dude, are horrible in bare knuckle.
What you find out is like some people boxing inside and boxing on the outside are so different. They're like it's like teeing off and then on the green. They're totally different moves, totally different mindset, totally different. I mean, it's and then you got mid range where you're out there in the middle. You got to know a little bit of both. So bare knuckle, just touching on it, it's been a crazy ride. They've flown us around. I've got to go a few places and be a part of a few shows, and it's insane.
What's your favorite? We're not going to categorize it into one specific experience, but you've been cornering UFC fights, you've cornered bare knuckle fights, you've cornered local boxing matches, you've cornered huge boxing shows. What's been the most, I guess, surprisingly satisfying?
Oh man,
experience out of doing all of those?
Well, I would say the relationships I've built with these people over the years is like really, I wasn't expecting to, now for 15 years to get calls from people and people check on you, like, dang, I didn't know they cared, different clubs, things like that. I have certain memories and highlights that stand out. There's a late Sean Vasquez, who was a coach in Troop. He helped me out a lot, but him and I were super competitive as coaches. Sean was a really awesome fighter. His family comes from a bunch of fighters in East Texas. This is Troop, Texas, right by Tyler.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, they still have one of the most badass clubs around, and his wife Candace has kept it going. He passed away. Sean and I were competitive with our fighters. We were always bumping our kids and fighting our kids together, and I couldn't beat him. Like I couldn't beat him. And I have this one kid that you remember back in the day, we used to call him Parking Lot, the little blonde kid. I finally beat Sean with Parking Lot. I fought his kid named Cash, who was really talented. And anyways, in that moment, I felt like I looked up to him so much, and to actually get a win over him, I never won a fight against him, and he always kind of big brothered me, and in the best way. He was real positive. And R.I.P. Coach Sean. The dude started something in East Texas, and I have to say, like, South Louisiana has a vibe with fighting. North Louisiana has a vibe. East Texas is insane. They have really a vibe. Different. They have a vibe, and I've been welcomed over there. I've gone over there and trained with those guys, and I've met some great people, and the talent is crazy, like Olympic level talent over in East Texas with youth boxing for sure.
Yeah, man, I just think it's interesting. I think it's interesting how this all unfolds. I think it's awesome how, I mean, you just decided to get back into it, and then what it's turned into because you put all of your passion into it. I mean, this is what you do pretty much every day now, right? I mean,
yeah, it's what I do now. It's what I'm doing all the time now, and I'm constantly out knocking on doors, meeting people. Hey, this is what we do. But thankfully now I'm not pitching an idea. I mean, I can actually pull up on my phone and say, this is our shows, this is what we do, and they're like, oh, okay, either you do or you don't want to support it. And there's a lot of great charities in the area. There's a lot of, I like to shed light on the ones that are doing big things in the community, and I want to be like that. I want to be one of those. So, I mean, we're in the path to do it, and I mean, I'm just, like I said, I'm so blessed to have that position, to get down on my knees with a kid and look at him in the eyes and say, man, you have the potential to do this, and watch what happens. You sit, that's your job. You tell him. And you got to believe it. And
dude, sometimes that's all they need.
Yeah, that's all they need.
Isn't that crazy? That's all they need. They need someone to believe in them. That's it.
They haven't been told. Kids in today's world haven't been told they can do something. They haven't been encouraged. Yeah. So encouragement is a new thing to them. I feel like everyone's coaching from an angle of beating down and correction and things like that, when really you need to just maybe try a different way. That's the angle that I like to come from, is being as encouraging as I can be, and realistic too. Like I said, like you're not keeping your hands up. It would be better if you did.
Right. But not yelling and belittling.
There's nothing to get upset about.
Right. No.
If you like taking punches to the face, hey, face block. good job. I tell kids in the corner, I like that face block. They come back laughing because we joke about that in the gym. And man, you build little bonds and things in there, and you see these guys go out under the lights and actually pull it off. And a lot of them take hard losses, man. They get out there on the big stage, they work and train, and then they get out there and take a hard loss. And I'm there in those moments to make sure they know that it's not a loss, man. You put yourself out there.
Yeah.
You put yourself out there.
Yeah, because it takes a lot, man. It takes a lot depending on your anxiety level, and not even knowing how to deal with something like that until it's that moment, and you don't really have time to process it. You just have to get, oh shit, this is happening, and then you got to get through it, win or lose, and then you have to process it afterwards. And then sometimes it takes 5 or 6, dude. It took me 3 or 4 before I would not lose my shit mentally, like where I just was so worried about nothing. I've done this a million times, just a different format, right? I mean, it's different environment, excuse me. And it's, yeah, dude, there is something that people in that, but something that does for you mentally, like it just strengthens like so many people, like especially the ones that never would have had any confidence on any level. You know what I mean?
Right. It's kind of like, okay, you and me start playing chess. Let's say we start playing chess and we're on a timer, but at some point the board explodes. Yeah. Right? Yeah. We don't know when. We're just playing chess. That adds a different element to the chess match. So just thinking in strategy.
This happened to me. I think we were at Golden Gloves. I don't know if you were probably there. We were in Lafayette. And it was my first fight, and I lost it, and I was done. But I was warming up, and I see this big, tall black dude warming up. I'm like, damn, I'm going to have to fight this dude. And I was like, okay, I've already been sparring with people like, that's what my brain's saying. I'm already sparring people like this. Like, we'll be okay. And then as soon as he got in the ring, he swapped to southpaw. Bro, I lost my shit. Yeah. I didn't even know what to do. I went out there, threw a couple jabs, turtled up, and I mean, dude, Stand ate me. I mean, whatever it's called.
That's it.
Stand ate me. And I mean, I just lost it because one, that was the very first time I'd ever been in an actual real fight, that was sanctioned. Yeah. And I mean, he just threw me for an entire loop I wasn't ready for. Mentally, it just fucked me up. I did not know how to deal with it, and I didn't have time to process it. I just was like, oh, shit. But had I sparred with someone like that and mentally prepared for that, I hadn't, because we just didn't,
Yeah, that can throw you off. And nowadays, everyone's trying to learn to fight both now. And the kids are teaching, I mean, they're learning like Terrence Crawford. And, I don't know if you watch that guy. He's pretty awesome. Yeah. He's pretty awesome. Yeah. He's like, I mean, I've always been a fan, but this has been a good year for him.
Well, these kids now coming up are so talented, like multi combat sport athletes. Like used to, you had baseball, football, track star athlete. Now you have a wrestler, boxer, jiu-jitsu guy walking into an MMA gym at 12 years old, and you're like, holy shit.
I had this discussion, actually. I was talking to Amber and John about this, and I was like, well, what do you think is better? A kid that has an understanding of MMA from the jump, like from the beginning, he's exposed to MMA. He doesn't understand breaking down the different sections. It's all one thing from the beginning. Right. Okay. Or dissect it and master each division. So
I like the separating because I mean, when we fought, Donnie's like, he's like, you're going to box. Yeah. X amount of fights before you even try to do MMA.
That's traditional way.
Yeah. And I like it.
Yeah. And like, who's to say one's right? Yeah. It really depends on the student.
I think I would have been an amazing fighter had I boxed and then actually wanted to do jiu-jitsu. I never enjoyed it. And then wrestled. If I'd have done each one of those things individualized for a little while and then came to do MMA, I just feel like that, I mean, shit. Instead of just walking into doing MMA, I get it,
I've always been a fan of MMA. Like I remember, like when I was in high school, the first UFCs, the people charged $5 to get in their house, and they rented it. And we all watched it. Yeah. But I remember like Chuck
Liddell and Tito back then, and all, or you're talking about pre that.
I'm talking like UFC 3.
Yeah.
When they didn't have gloves on.
Right. Yeah.
And they didn't have time limits. Yeah. But up until then, everyone would talk shit and be like, well, a wrestler would win, or a boxer would win, or a Muay Thai would win, and I don't know, it's been fun to watch the evolution of the sport, and it's scary to see the kids now, how good they are, because they're like,
it's insane.
They're crazy.
It's insane. And then you have UFC champion. He left, dude, why am I drawing a blank right now?
Because you're trying to think of it.
Just fought in Dubai, Abu Dhabi. Dude, why am I drawing a blank?
I don't know. He's a UFC fighter, I guess.
Now he's a boxer. Dude, why am I drawing a blank right now?
In Ghana?
Yeah, in Ghana. Francis Ngannou.
Yeah.
See what the hell? That's brain fart. Yeah,
okay.
in Ghana, like you have people leaving MMA and going to boxing and making these huge amounts of money. It's crazy.
That's because the groundwork in boxing is already done.
It's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like,
there's more money.
They used to say, like, and I remember Joe Rogan talking about, MMA was swallowing up boxing and boxers were going to be bitter and they were losing fans and losing money. It is all bullshit, because there's enough people in this world to have fans of both.
Right.
I mean, there are people that
There's people that like soccer and there's people that like football.
People that like riding pink go-karts.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be a club for that.
Yeah.
I like riding longboards. I have a little club for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's going to be you're going to find your bumblebee, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anyhow,
that's where it goes, man. You never know where it goes. We'll wrap this thing up, dude.
Yeah.
So Dement Brothers Boxing, you're on Instagram, Facebook, website. You're actually a 501c3.
That's right.
So
That's right.
a lot of people don't know that, and that's something I think I want to strongly, talk about, is that if they, want to support you, they can reach out to you. You always have events going on. You sponsor these events, and then also you can donate.
You can donate to us. We always need equipment. We got right now. We got about 15 kids on scholarship that their gym.
How does that work, real quick?
Well, it's kind of
like, how do you, where did that come from, and how's that?
Well, it came from me coming to sponsors and saying, I have kids that they can't afford to train.
Okay.
And a kid comes to me and he's like, I don't have any money, but I want to be a boxer.
Right.
I say, you got to leave.
Yeah, that's not you.
Well, think about that. Like, there's a better way, because before I also can't, train everyone.
You can't train everyone for free, man. You got bills to pay.
What I had to do is get a program going that I could say, these are the results of this program. And if you donate to our program, you're going to see the X, Y, and Z. Come out and see, and we promote you. We put you on the uniform. We put you on the shirts. Put you at the banners. Put you in the ring. Do what we can. But, without certain sponsors and things like that, that's the lifeblood of what we're doing.
Right.
And, whenever I can say, your donation helped 10 kids train this year, that's a return for them. It's a thing that I didn't think I was going to be able to do. I just didn't like turning kids away.
Yeah.
And so Bill and I were like, well, let's keep them and let's see if we can get sponsors to pay for them. So we went to people and say, hey, this is what we're doing. We're teaching this kid how to fight. He doesn't have any money. He's cleaning the gym. Make a donation and pay his way. Help him out. So now that's pretty much how we do it. We have,
but they're still having to clean the gym or something. They're not walking in thinking they're
the little ones. I'm not making.
Right,
dude.
right.
There are kids that come in there that have absolutely nothing and not a good home to go
right,
to.
Exactly.
And I want to keep the door open for them.
Right.
I'm not turning them away.
Right.
I want them. They're the fighters I want.
Yeah.
But they mix with everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's open and honest. Like, hey, this is, if you can pay your gym dues, this is what we need from you.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't pay, I'm gonna take it out of you in time.
Right.
Or you're gonna help me do this, that, or the other. So we ended up having a lot of people, and it just runs smooth that way.
Yeah, I like it, dude. I really like it. That's some old school stuff.
It is just give them something to do. I had a guy here in Bossier. He's on the school board. From way back in the day, he came and brought some equipment to our gym, and he said, listen, back in the day, our main goal was to give these kids something to do. They didn't have anything to do. He said, and what you guys are doing is giving them something to do. Every kid that's in this gym working out is a kid not breaking into a car, a kid not dealing drugs. It's a kid focused on his goals, his schoolwork, things he needs to, because that's what we're going to encourage him to do.
Yeah.
I want him to be a better person. If they don't have to make it to the Olympics to be Sugar Ray Leonard. I just want to, and God has continued to bless me. I know that if I wake up and that's my goal, to help kids, God's going to continue to bless that.
Yeah.
Because I have a pure heart with that.
Yeah.
It's never been the Jake Dement show. It's never been about me. It's always the people around me. I want to lift them up. And if you take that aspect from business towards your business, you're going to kick ass.
100%, dude. 100%.
I mean,
if you don't look at it as a number and you just look at it as if you're putting passion behind it and you just have enough to pay the bills, I feel like those are the biggest beneficial I mean, it reached most benefit. I mean, excuse me, most rewards. You know,
and I'm in a state of gratitude always, because I never thought it would get as big as it was. You know, whenever we were selling the shirts and I was trying to get guys to buy my T-shirts, like, hey, I'm running a boxing club now. That was so far. I never thought I would be. You know, every day comes from gratitude because it's further than I've ever imagined, and now I see kind of how it can continue. And I want you to understand that getting involved in boxing in Bossier City is like being handed a torch, and my job is to pass it down to the next guy. But before I do, I want it to burn really, really bright, and I'm going to give it to the next guy. And then when I'm gone, he's going to give it to the next guy. And I'm trying to set up a lane that where boxing stays right here in Bossier.
I like it.
That's my idea on it.
I like it. I mean, you have pure intentions. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I was born into it.
Yeah.
I honor it, and it passes on after I'm gone.
Yeah.
And so I embrace it. When I was younger, I didn't really understand how cool position I was in, you know, with my grandfather and my dad, and now I realize that I was kind of being schooled and molded for the position I'm in now.
Yeah.
So
I like it, bro. Well, let's wrap this thing up, dude.
Thank you, man.
Always a pleasure, sir.
Yeah, it was great talking. I could just go on and on.
Oh, no, dude.
I know I kind of jabbered a little bit.
No, dude, you're good. We'll do it again.